I think Emily has a thing for Ed Sheeran, but it's not like a sexual thing. It's like a making fun of him.
We could do Ed Sheeran music. I'm good with it.
Yeah. Well,
So the next one will be dedicated to her. Then we'll do some Ed Sheeran. I'll wait till next week for that, though. I'll wait for next week for that.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, tell her some Ed Sheeran music she loved to just watch getting tortured, and I will do that for her. And she can join in whatever she likes. Does she want me to make fun of the words? Does she just want me to whatever she wants? I shall do for her.
No, I know. Oh, we're live streaming. I got it.
Yay! You got it. Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
We got it. Thought about Jesus, but here's Loki still. Demon Daddy. Loki has called me Demon Daddy the other day. He says he goes to the Heavenly Father and says, "Good morning, how are you?" to the Heavenly Father. He says, I have to go to Demon Daddy and say,
yeah, I like it. Sky Daddy, Demon Daddy. He can be Dirt Daddy. Sky Daddy, Dirt Daddy.
yeah. I was very complimented. He included me on the whole thing. I'm like, oh. I shall shut up. Back out now.
All right. Well, I'm Angie.
And I'm Michelle.
And we are sisters who channel ancient and divine beings from two councils of thought. Lazarus is our divine counsel, and Lucian is our counsel of the shadows within the illusion. These beings teach us how to be better people, leading better lives, and we hope to teach you how to better your life. And today we're going to talk about Jesus. We talked about Jesus 2 weeks ago on our last one, and there was a lot of just really cool information because Locaeus had an aspect as John, the best friend of Jesus and the one whom Jesus loved. So we get this added perspective, plus all these divine perspectives on Jesus. So we get to get some truth out of these stories. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I am too, because I'm always amazed when I watch these lives afterwards that I'm like, because I know none of this information until I'm watching it, and you and Locaeus, all of you and them go back and forth, and it's cool because from my point, I don't remember none of this I don't know, and hearing it and you learn, and even when he's talking about the crucifixion, I was in tears. I was in tears because because you feel it with him. He wants you to actually feel that. And it was amazing. That's why me and you said we need to do this again, because it was beautiful how you both can get to that, because because we want people to see, we both channel, we both feel that. So we want people to be in that with us and join that with Jesus. That's how Jesus taught. He wanted you to feel as if you were in his orbit of love. And that's what we want you to feel like. And that's why when Locaeus is doing this through John, that's what we want you to do.
Absolutely. And I was watching it also. And again, I'm slightly channeled. So when this information is coming to me, I'm not understanding it. Right. Observer part of Angie isn't active during this. So it's just not, it doesn't get it. So I was able to picture a lot of that stuff in my head as I was listening to it. Like, where he was talking about Jesus teaching, I felt like I could see this big building with columns and stuff, and it had steps and this beautiful courtyard, and I could see it. It brought me back to a life where I could see that. Like I was a kid watching this, and that was amazing. And how many other people might watch this and get that visual and get that reminder. It's very awesome.
I think so. Well, before we do this, Loki has a song he would like to intro to this.
Perfect.
Because he said we need this intro, and then I will just bring Locaeus through, because after that, Locaeus is going to pout a little bit because this wasn't agreed upon from Locaeus. But you just don't tell him no. You can't tell him no. You just won't tell him.
Yep, that's true.
This is Loki's. Thank you, girls. Anyway, here's a song I want to dedicate to today's, and because it brings everything, and you're just talking about being in the orbit of love. So this song was going to bring you into that as well. It was a popular child's show, Mr. Rogers, and he brought you into his neighborhood. So therefore, I'm going to bring you. I know. I thought of you. I really did. So I'm really sorry for the lyrics, but I'm going to keep it as I'm not actually destroying it. It's bringing Jesus into it. So it's not being destroyed. I'm bringing Jesus. He does not.
He adds.
It's a wonderful time for Facebook Live. It's a wonderful time to hear about Jesus too. Will you be his? Will you be his? Okay, let's listen to John now. Doo-doo.
That was pretty good.
See, I did not destroy song.
God. And again, you use the additive. Jesus, it made it better. That's fantastic.
So introducing the so-called favorite of Jesus Christ, the one, the only disciple. Where was Mark? John. Okay.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Oh,
Jesus
this is
loves you. Jesus loves you.
I didn't agree to any of that. So, okay. Thank you, Loki. Demon Daddy. Now you know I call him Demon Daddy.
I get it. It ain't wrong.
No.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was the favorite.
yeah. How could you not be? So let's just that's all you need to say.
Yeah, because Brian to be to point out all the way through the Bible. Jesus' favorite. And Michelle and Kenneth, all of them had their head down looking at me, and I'm like, not insecure. I just want to make it well known. The rest of them could have mentioned it too. They just didn't do it. Not my problem.
That's true. You didn't have anything to do with that. They could have said it too.
Okay, so we will proceed, or however you want to proceed.
Well, I wanted to start with, okay, so this book, The Acquiring Gospel of Jesus Christ by Levi. I love this book. I have like the earmarks on like every page of this book. Like this book has like so much awesome information in it. So I wanted.
Okay, well, but when you do, you know why? You resonate because you got to remember you're an aspect of us as well. So you're there as well.
Okay.
You as well were Jesus' favorite because part of John the Aspect, is right here.
And he was the favorite. I feel it.
I told you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like there's so much truth and more information that the Bible just withholds.
Right.
So I wanted to start here.
Okay, perfect.
Maybe end here. I'm not quite sure, but I just wanted to see where it goes with this information that I found just quite interesting. So I'm going to start with God has a plan for everything, like everything's very thought out. It's very planned ahead. He gives us all the resources that we need to do things while we are here.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about Mary because we don't know anything about Mary's parents. So this first section talks about the parents of Mary. So I wanted to start there.
Okay.
So her father's name was Joachim and her mother's name was Anna. So we have Joachim was a master of the Jewish law, a man of wealth. He lived in Nazareth of Galilee, and Anna of the tribe of Judah was his wife. To them was born a child, a goodly female child, and they were glad, and Mary was the name they gave the child. Joachim made a feast in honor of the child, but he invited not the rich, the honored, and the great. He called the poor, the halt, the lame, the blind, and to each one he gave a gift of food or other needful. He said, the Lord has given me this wealth. I am his steward by his grace. And if I give not to his children when in need, then he will make this wealth a curse. Now, yes. Okay, so that's all I wanted to read from that section. So I know from the gospel, what was that other book? That other book, I don't remember what it's called at the moment. But anyway, it talks about how Mary's uncle was John, the one that gave the tomb to Jesus. So it does sound like Mary's family came from wealth. So not only did they come from wealth, they also were leaders of the church. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. Well, I don't want to. Okay, I'm going to say I don't. When I hit something that I don't want to lie and I don't want to sugarcoat. Okay. I don't want scholars and everybody, whatever, but you got to remember, I know these things. Jesus would never talk about it. We only knew this from people that knew Mary. Mary never talked about her family. We never asked about her family. It wasn't one of those. You got to remember, we were helping others. We weren't talking about and conversing of your past. We were always conversing of just your present. But it was always hearsay about her family. Okay, so I will remind people, when Jesus found her, the condition she was in. She was a prostitute making money. So you would wonder, well, if her parents were this, like that, where did this come from?
This Mary is Jesus's mother.
Oh, you're talking about Jesus's mother. I thought we were talking about Mary of Nazarene. I didn't know we were talking about, okay.
So this started with.
Okay, no, I apologize, because Mary's family as well had money too.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I thought we were talking about Mary, because Mary's family, they had money as well.
Wow. Okay.
So they had money, and I apologize, we were talking about his mother, Mary. I thought we were talking about the other Mary. So there's so many Marys, I apologize. There's just so many, but that Mary, I thought we were, for whatever reason, that was what it was picturing to me. So I guess she wants to be talked about versus mother here. Okay, Jesus is guiding then.
I just wanted to start off with, the reason that I said this is because there was a part of this book that talks about how when Mary and Elizabeth were pregnant with Jesus and John the Baptist, that they were sent to stay with the Essenes. And I wanted to read what the Essene teachers told them about their sons' lives.
But he does not want that talked about.
Okay.
He don't want that talked about. I hear him very clearly in my mind. He goes, I don't want to talk about anything about that. And I don't want to talk about anything about John. He's making that quite clear to me. You don't want to talk about that.
Okay. All right.
So he has his reasons, Angela. I'm not sure what his reasons are.
So let me see.
He doesn't want to talk about his mother either. He says, I don't, that's why he put me to marry her, not his mom, Mary.
Okay.
So I apologize, but he's moving me forward. He don't want to go to that discussion. He's making that he's given me a stop. He says, if I do it, I'm not going to have his permission. So
I have a parable of Jesus.
Yes, you can do that. He just don't want anything when it comes to his mother. That he said a different time, he don't want to talk about right now. He says he don't feel people are ready for it. So he doesn't want to bring his mother into it, this information, because that's why he put me into the information of the other Mary, because he don't want to talk about his mother Mary. Because Matt Mary also as well came from those kind of circumstances, but her family is very hypocritical and things like that. And people knew nothing about her family. They were of wealth. They kind of resembled his Mary. Okay. And that's why he won't really talk about his mother, because he doesn't want people to start with the whole thought and idea, well, Jesus had money. So he does not want this conversation to go. I know he doesn't want people to go to that route. He wants more of the teaching and the parables of what we did before. He said, we will talk about Mary a different time, but if he wants, we want to talk about that Mary. She had a lot of good information on that. So he said, we can do that. That's okay. That's why he led me to Mary. So there was no confusion. He's blocking me from his mom.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, it's all right. I just want the truth or just good information here. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to read this parable and then let's talk about the parable.
Okay.
So, and Jesus spoke a parable. He said, a certain man possessed a field. The soil was hard and poor. By constant toil, he scarcely could provide enough of food to keep his family from want. One day, a miner who could see beneath the soil and passing on his way saw this poor man in his unfruitful field. He called the weary toiler and he said, my brother, know you not that just below the surface of your barren field, rich treasures lie concealed? You plow and sow and reap in scanty way, and day by day you tread upon a mine of gold and precious stones. This wealth lies not under the surface of the ground, but if you will but dig away the rocky soil and delve down deep into the earth, you no longer need to toil for naught. The man believed. The miner surely knows, he said, and I will find the treasures hidden in my field. And then he dug away the rocky soil, and deep down in the earth he found a mine of gold. And Jesus said, the sons of men are toiling hard on desert plains, and burning sands and rocky soils are doing what their fathers did, not dreaming that they do aught else. Behold, a master comes and tells them of a hidden wealth, that underneath the rocky soil of carnal things are treasures that no man can count, that in the heart the richest gems abound, that he who mills away open up the door and find them all. And then the people said, make known to us the way, that we may find the wealth that lies within the heart. And Jesus opened up the way. The toiler saw another side of life, and toil became a joy.
Okay. Well, that's what he's trying to point out. And this is as of today, people don't want to go out. They think work is a chore. They don't want to go out, and you don't see he was a carpenter. Jesus came and he was a carpenter. He taught all of us. We all had different trades. We were not just simple men that walked and followed him like that. He gave us trades. He taught us stuff. If he said we're doing carpentry today and we're going to paint or whatever, we're going to plant a garden. That's what we did. We might not have known, we would know, but some things we didn't understand what we had to do. And some of us would really, and let me ask, I was guilty of this as well. But he said, think of it this way, you're beautifying my Father's land. You're helping somebody else. But it also shows people as well around you, when you smile as you, others will pick up on that and know that, because what you're doing when your vibration is up. And when you find something you love to do, you never work another day in your life. When we followed him, it was never a chore. It was never nothing. It was never work the rest of our life. It was very hard. It was very difficult. We didn't sleep. We got hit a lot. I mean, it was very tireless and hungry all the time. But the teaching was priceless, and I wouldn't have gave that up for nothing. I would have whatever. But he was trying to teach us as well as others. When you work, as he did, even though he was a carpenter, he came from a poor, Mary is, he's saying very carefully, Mary had that, but Mary chose right. And even when
it was
like, he said later we can. He said it's just right, not right now. He wants the story to kind of go in. He said, and then we can bring it back. But he said just not right. He didn't want to start with his mom like that. He said he wants to go ahead towards like the middle, because he knows where this is all going to go. Of course he knows. Of course he knows. But he was just trying to teach humans, he came into the world, a carpenter, and he did things with his hands, and he joyfully did it. And it wasn't because he's the son of God. He did it because he had that human in him as well. So you have to remember this as well. So that's why he was trying to teach people. So when you're laboring and you feel it's work, it's not. You're going towards something, you're raising your vibration. You're given to God. And, Kenneth, he's a truck driver, and he says to me, I make this money, but if without somebody, it feels kind of worthless to me. And I tell him, but do you love what you do? He says, yes. I said, it's almost like you're doing something you love. It's not like working for you another day in your life. And he goes, yes. But what he does, he donates to charities now, because he's happy with the money, but he sees more joy into helping. Like, he'll come over, and they're divorced, but he'll still buy groceries for him. He'll still do, things like that. He's generous, he'll do things for the kids for no reason, and that is what Jesus is trying to teach. When you have the funds, help somebody else, help you have enjoyment in the life. It's also self-care. He's trying to teach you this. Money is not evil. It's an energy. It's here to provide this joy for you. It's not here to be the joy and the attachment now. It can bring joy. Can it not get you to places? Without it, you're not getting anywhere. You have to have it to fuel your gas. You got it to travel and to eat and everything. It all depends on that. But it's to get you, it bring happiness and joy as well. So you got it. And that's what he's trying to do. And money is not evil. Don't put evil on money. Government tried. It's not evil. That's why he always tried to say it is not evil. It's here. It's evil. If you find it evil, then that's your attachment. And yes, but if you would not attach to it, you make it. Yes, it's not evil at all. And that's so that's what he's trying to say with money. He's just saying, you don't have to be greedy, work for it. Don't go to your neighbors and beg for money. You can do this, but be joyful as you work. And there's so many treasures you're going to discover on your way. How many people are you going to help by being there? That's the treasures on the ground, is other people. You will actually lift other people. Your dad, how many people did he lift when he had his companies? and they still talk to him today. How many people still talk to them when they go to restaurants anywhere? They love them because they're so generous. They love everybody. So, and they're just some authentic selves. And that is what he's just trying to teach, you know, because not only are you helping self-care and make your life, you're also given to others as well. And you do bring a spark to that life that maybe you weren't aware of if you did not do this path. So that is what he's trying to say in this particular parable. There's a lot to say, but it's a big message within that little parable.
Jennifer says he's talking about our connection to the divine. And when we learn to have faith in the great spirit of our Father, our connection grows and our life is full of riches untold. We struggle because we are not connected to God. That was my take on it.
Everybody has a different take, and that was the point. I'm going on the take as John the disciple. That's my take. So I'm not going as a humanist. If a human's picking that up, fantastic, because that's what it's meant to do. My view is John the disciple and how John the disciple picked up on this, because I want others to go from his orbit, from actually sitting with him, because when he taught, that's what he was teaching us.
So to talk about like being on a mission with Jesus, you talk about how you did different things. Talk about like a mission that you did with Jesus, with the disciples, like what you did, what it was like, the teaching, all of it. I think that would be very interesting to know.
All right, so we'd walk village to village, right? And now each of us, we were taught, and it's not put in the Bible or anywhere, and it could be put somewhere, I'm sure it's somewhere, but disciples, see, we had our own lives, we could give our own stories as examples. Okay. So he would tell us if we felt as if we would go to a home and we felt as if, because we would go to homes or villages, and I'm sorry, I'm hearing a lot of, we had an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, and it's still kind of, so there's a lot. She lives next to a cemetery, so I have to sometimes, my energy is this high, they try to come in, I have to block. But so for example, we'd go to like different villages, different houses, different things like that, and each disciple would have his own story. For example, for example, I mean, I can give my example, is I had a problem with my family. John had a big problem with his family. They didn't understand him. I was almost like Joan of Arc. Nobody understood me because I could almost hear God. I knew there was going to be someone, he will walk. I was looking for a king, and I was looking for this king with money and riches, what I'm looking for. And my parents just thought I was crazy, kicked me out, but that was okay. That was pretty normal. I had a scrounge for everything. So I mean, that's the account of John for me. That was me. And I became mistrustful, and I thought whoever he's going to be walking as a king does not love me because he would put me through all of this. But then I actually met him and I seen he was just like I was. That was an amazing for me. So he told me, he said, when we were entering this house, there was a family and this boy. Well, Jesus had entered it, and you could tell the father was not even having it. He says, I don't want this man who's claiming he's the king. And it took me back to my dad. It took me right back to me. It took me right back. He looked at me, he said, John, I think you got this one. And I looked at him and I didn't want to do it. He goes, we do things we don't want to do sometimes, but that's part of our work. And he goes, John, my brother, you got this. I want you to go. And so he looked at him and he says, I think my disciple, John, my brother, can help. And he said, so he took the boy that he was yelling at, and it took me to me. And I sat down, he put the boy on my lap, and I proceeded. And the father heard it from the eyes of a hurt child versus hearing a young boy. He heard it from a hurt child. But Jesus's way was to heal me, get a message across, but heal me as well, because I was so still, and I did learn a lot from myself. And I got to hear the dad's perspective. So he would do that as well. So he would make sure we learned as well as everybody learned. So we would teach, we did a lot of, if we didn't understand how to do bandages, he'd have certain people just for that. We didn't do that. We had some that were good at just psychoanalyzing. He'd bring those in. I was more of the, I wasn't his right hand man. He didn't really have that. All of us were. I was more of the parables. Like I am, I do the talking and the teaching now, but that's where he had me, because he would say, we'd go to these homes and that's what he would tell them. My brother John is going to tell a story, say, well, I was doing that. So it would free him to go to the children or go wherever he was needed at the time. And then so it's like I was warming them up like at concerts, like you'd have your first act, then the main act comes through. Well, that was me and then him. But I wasn't always me. Sometimes it could have been somebody else. But he mostly had me. He had Simon sometimes as well, Peter. But it all depended. He just rotate. But that's how we did. So while we were also, but he'd do parables. But see, he'd make us recite his parables. So if we didn't understand them, he would not have us recite those. He did not want us to recite what we not understood, because he did not want us to go teach that to others. So, so as like you bring a parable and a human's going to get a different view, that's beautiful. And that's what he always wanted. But I go by, you got to remember John the disciple at the time, how I would have took it, because I want everybody to feel that. I want everybody, as you're in the room with Jesus, you're being with John the disciple and all the disciples. I want you to feel how, as a disciple, we've got to remember, no education up until this man comes in and gives his information to you. He got from the Essenes, from walking around, and he's sharing his information. He shared the chakras, by the way. He would sit and teach us the chakras. He would teach us, if humans are interested, he would teach us all of that. He was teaching us healing touch, like that. He would tell us to do that and visualize what we are wanting to heal. But we really had to connect to the divine. And that was hard. Yeah, you're walking with Jesus, but easier said than done, to connect to the Father. And a lot of them we were so stuck on ourselves and the ego. And he would say, you have to let go of that ego. And he would teach us to meditate, how to pray. So we knew how to go to the others to teach them how to pray and how to meditate. But again, if we didn't understand, we didn't teach that. We were only allowed to teach what we really understood. I have to admit, I didn't understand any of the chakras. I did at the time. Now I do now. I didn't then, but a lot of them did. Simon picked it up pretty fast. So he was the one going. So it's as each of them we evolved, he put us in that spot. So that's what we did. We walked around healing, but he would utilize our gifts. He already knew what we could do way before. He chose us for reasons, and he knew why he chose us, because we were going to spread that word after he was done. Now, when he left and the Holy Spirit came through, things changed for me, and my eyes became his eyes, and things were different. So I taught with conviction. I was not afraid of death. We were all scared of death at that point. All of us were scared of death. When he died and the Holy Spirit hit me, none of us were afraid of it anymore. We watched the great master go through this. We were no longer afraid. We figured if he could do that, we can do that as well. I died in horrible circumstances, not as brutal as his, but I died as well for the word. But that's how he taught. So he taught others through his crucifixion. If you believe in something, die for this. If this is really what you do, die for this. And he did teach a lot. Joan of Arc, didn't she die for what she believed? A lot of people died. Even Martin Luther King, he knew he was going to die. He had dreams that people didn't know. That he had dreams 3 or 4 days beforehand that he was his death. Abraham Lincoln was told by a spirit that he was getting ready to die. But yet he showed up because it's destiny that he shows up. So the great figures already know this stuff because they already show up. So Jesus as well, he knew he'd want to, but nobody wanted to fill this cup, be that martyr. But that is what we were taught. So this is like teaching. So if you were in Jesus's, it depended on the village, it depended on how many people, and some villages kicked him out immediately. And so some he would leave like a disciple or two, and depending because he never didn't want to just not help, he wanted to do something. But sometimes none of us could stay because we were getting rocks thrown at us. We were getting spit on. We were getting kicked. I don't know how many times I was kicked, flogged on the way out of the village. But we'd all protect Jesus as he was walking out. And he never asked us to do that. We just felt upon ourselves to do that for him. He was our master. The Father's, it's the Father, but we're protecting the Son. He never asked us to do that, for the record. That was just what we did. So it was very brutal doing what we did, but people wanted to follow all the time. But with kids, we had age groups that could do this, but they had certain talents and things like that. But he had a huge following. So that would be how it felt to be a disciple, how it felt to be within the grasp of Jesus Christ. That would be Jesus the Christ. That would be it.
I have another question that I thought was interesting. The whole speech where Jesus was talking about how he's the bread of life and he's the water of life, and we eat of him and drink of him, and that people just like were like, I'm not following this guy anymore. Can you talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Now the bread of life is an Essene thing. He learned that from the Essenes. The Essenes always did the bread. Okay, he don't want me once again, so he's stopping me here. Okay. Okay, so he don't want me to talk about it. He said, all I'm really, he wants me to say, and now if you're wondering why is he stopping me, he doesn't want to throw too much information and get people confused. He said he wants people to slowly just know him, and he just wants to slowly get into things. But he said, I'll do his interpretation of bread of life. I'm not going to start where it came from. He said, we'll do that a different time. So I apologize here. So he wants to go the bread of life. He wanted to let people know he is the bread of life. He is, like, you know, when he knew he was going to die, the bread was representing his body to tell you your body is, this is your vehicle only. This is it. When you drink, that's blood, but as well, that's to nourish your system. We all have blood. We all have this as Jesus. He said not only is he the bread of life, but you imitate that bread of life. We're all bread. You're all bread. You're all liquid because you're like what 60 whatever humans are of water. He knew that. So he was trying to say, not only am I the bread of your life, because I think sometimes people misunderstand where he goes with this. He was trying to point out to us that that's it. All of you are bread. You're all bread. You're all this is the bread representing this. Water's representing the wine was representing the blood inside. We all have it. And as we eat the bread and drink we eat the bread, you drink the wine, you're saying, I'm going to be one with my fellow man. Not only with the Father, but I'm going to be one with everybody, because we're all bread, we're all wine. That's how the Father is. He loves all of us. When you eat of that, you're just accepting I'm here on the mission for the human. I'm here, human flesh. And I'm here. I got the human body. I got the water, as you know, to hydrate my body and all of this stuff, because that's who I am as a human. So I know I'm a being. I mean, Jesus knew he was a being. So as it is, now I accept my role as a human. I'm learning as a being, but I'm accepting my role as a human to learn. So I can tell the beings what to do as well. So basically, you're just accepting under the Father's divine law this physical body and the water and everything, how your body is, because it's majority, and so is your earth to represent that. That's why the moon and the water are beautifully together. Think about that. He did these things for a reason. So he would connect everything together. And as well, the bread connects to earth and the water. I mean, it has so many significance and symbolism behind it. I mean, but you can interpret it however it is beautiful to you. That is whatever. But when he told us more, and that is what he told us. That is how he represented that to us. So, but I've heard many pastors and many since have said something different, but it's however it's beautiful. I'm not complaining. It's all right. But he said he is the bread of life, but he was bringing that for everybody to understand you're one with everybody. You're one with your brothers and sisters. Not only, I'm Jesus, but who am I really? You all can do this. So all I'm here is to teach you to do exactly what I do.
If Jesus could talk to his followers nowadays, what would he say to us? Especially the ones that are misrepresenting him.
Okay. So he wants to do this okay. Loki, no pressure from you. Hush. All right. He says what he liked to address, because you got to remember, he talks to everybody. So everybody don't sit there and be like, oh my, he talks to everybody. I just happen to sit here. He's here. So his message is really, he wants you to follow what is right. Follow. When you watch things like this, does it enlighten you? Does it make you question in a good way? Will it make you look at something different like he would do. When he walked his path, he said he liked to start when he walked. He said he said the whole Bible is beautiful, but a lot of parts are left out. And he said that's okay, only because they weren't ready for it. So he said he's glad it was what it was, the way it was. He said no coincidences. Whoever took it out because people aren't ready. People can handle it in small doses. He says. He says his father and him are these big. It's but more than people know. He said you look at him through eyes of a human. He said you look at him with narrow eyes, but your eyes only see this much. He said, are so much broader than you see. He said, I always taught my disciples, he goes, to see much more. It's a beautiful world, but don't look through the lens of a human. He said, you've got a being inside of you, correct? We'd say, yes. Well, some of us are like, what? Inside of us? He goes, that's not what I'm saying. He goes, you came here to learn as I. He goes, what gets your heart? And if you don't know that question, then pursue that. That's why you're here, is what is going to pursue your heart. He said, I knew my father was my heart. My mother was my heart. He said, and I knew whatever circumstances were given, that would be what I follow. He said, my road was not laid before me. Everybody feels that my road was laid before me. And he goes, no, that is not true. He said, but I followed my heart, where my heart led. My mom was my heart. My mom led me to where I go. And he says, now, Angela, now you know why I waited to talk about my mother till now. All right. So he says, my mom was my heart, the heart of Mary. He said, should be no surprise. He would follow his mom anywhere. That was his guiding force. He said, but he followed the heart of his followers. He followed the heart of he said, yes, the Essenes did what they did. He goes, I thank them. But he said, in the end, it was all his choices. It don't matter where he learned, he says, because it was a choice of his to learn it, the information, because he followed once again, his heart. He says, I'm going to keep mentioning this because I'm trying to make a point to people, like a parable. He said, all the paths I have walked, the difficult paths, he said, easier paths for him, he says, when he was building a table for his mom, a simple smile from his mom was all he really needed, he says. It told him everything. When his dad would tap him on the back and say, good job, son, over his brothers, he goes, you had a little bit of a, right. So he said, yes, it was not human in him. He said, did I not look at girls? Yes. He goes, I did all of these things as a human. But he said, I knew my bigger purpose. He said, I heard the Father all the time. He says, if anybody's wondering, yes, I heard him. He's very clear. He would tell me, son, you have a bigger mission. And I understood that, but he was my heart as well. And I asked him, how do I find you? Why do you think? He said, follow your heart. And I'm always there. And he's like, when I taught at the temple, no surprise, my mom and dad are looking for me, but they're only my human parents. They're not my heavenly Father. He wanted to teach. I was going to teach. I channeled to show that he was here, and they asked me questions. He wanted to validate I was the teacher, but not to give me that attention, which is why the mom and dad grabbed to bring back the reality. He's still a human. I remember he's human, to bring that back to him as well, he says. But on his past, everything he's ever walked, all he's ever tried to do is just teach everybody to follow your heart and to love. It all leads back to love. All your heart and darkness and everything. He says, everybody has mistook this whole 40 days talk with the devil. He goes, that was him, his 40 days as Buddha. As any great master has to go for 40 days and find themselves before they can teach. He said it was more representation of his own demons, not of Lucifer, not of any temptation. That was more, he said, and Sri Krishna would understand that as well, because Sri Krishna went to these as well, more than him, but this was only his. He said, take it as a meditation retreat, or however you want to take it. He goes, I went and I had to spend time with the Father. What did he want me to teach for that 40 days? No food. It was easy, he said. It was easy. And he said, and the more I did not eat, the more spiritual I became, the more connected to my Father I became, and the more the angels appeared in front of me. And my mission became very clear in front of me. My disciples showed up in front of me. I knew who to choose from this point on. He said, now I will guide you. I will guide you now. He says, and that is how that's what he did. The angels did assist him. So that was, he said, is correct. They did assist him, but nobody understood. But he said he did try to say he was fighting his own demons. It was not in a literal sense. It was just him ridding of the ego to rid of that ego, which all great masters have to do, he says. Sri Krishna did that, Buddha did that, Mother Teresa, all of them will do this because they have to. Even Mr. Jack Valentine, that's what he did as well. You have to shed that ego or you're not doing anything. He knew that. So he had to do that. That 40 days was that retreat for him. Not retreat, but that's what he did. When he came back, that's why everything seemed so clear. His teachings were so clear. So he said, what is the point you're saying? All of his work, even to the crucifixion, he said, and yes, that was pointed out to him as well. He saw that. He said, but he accepted that. He knew his end, that was his end. But so he said he went forth and to teach. So he really do, as he wants others to, when you are teaching, don't do it because you're trying to get control. He does not like that. He said, I don't like when somebody takes my name and they're trying to say like, this is your congregation. Is this not your congregation? It's always my Father's congregation. So he said, when he taught, it was never about him. He'd teach about the Father and he'd point out quickly. He says, I would not have a church only because I am. He says, there's no need for a church. God's everywhere. He's in your home. He's everywhere. But churches are wonderful if you're helping somebody and you're being productive as much. He said, if you are not living up, this is your choice once again. He had choices. He said, I could have gone either way, but I chose to follow my Father. He said, even though I am my Father's son, I could have walked a different path. So he said, but I chose not to. Humans were way more important to him to follow. So he said, remember your purpose here. Follow your heart. He said, as when he followed his heart, everything came more clear. It's 40 days. He says, everybody's got that 40 days. That's your spiritual awakening. He said, everybody has it. It may not be 40 days, but it's your spiritual awakening. That was his darkness he had to shed. He had problems with his father. People may not know that. He had issues with his father, he says. My mother loved me so much, his dad felt ignored. And his brothers felt ignored. His brother was a half son, he says. And so that was always a hush in his family. And he was angry about that, thinking, well, why would God put me in a place where my dad did a lot of things? And he was out corralling as well. I'm not trying to insult, but that's what he did because he thought Mary was just so loved him. But that wasn't the case, but that's what he thought. So he had a lot of his darkness. So this was his spiritual awakening. He had to have this. So he said, as a human, this is what you do, follow your heart. He would say that if you're teaching and it doesn't feel passionate, don't teach. He said, simply don't teach. The second you feel it not in your heart, and you let somebody else teach, you back away from this. He said, if you're given a gift, use it wisely. He says, because if you don't want to use it, somebody else will be chosen to use that gift. If you choose not to use this gift, he says that he wants everybody just be kind to others. Don't judge. There's no reason to judge, and be good. And just when you're doing, do things from your heart. And that's really what he's emphasizing to people today. When you're angry, what does it serve? He said, you're not serving anybody by being angry. He says, and being racist and all of these things, it does. He said, I don't look at any of this, and neither should you. But as well, he's saying, but maybe you're here to teach a lesson. So he said, then, but do that. Learn what you need to and learn, and teach it. But always follow your heart. That's what he's really trying to say. So anybody is wondering what the point is, that's what he's really saying. I followed my heart. I followed, and I just made humans my mission, is what I did, as Sri Krishna did, as Buddha did, as Mother Teresa did, as Martin Luther King did, Joan of Arc. I could go on and on and on. And that's what he says. I'm not the only one here that I gave up for humans, because we saw so much more in them than us, and we gave us up to be for them. And he said, and all of these people, and there's so many more, if I don't name them, there's so many more. He said, but that's why. And he said, as you girls and us beings do what we do, because he said, these beings understand me. And he goes, and he sits right next to me. So he knows my words and he knows me. And he said that he really wants humans to understand these things, from his standpoint, and he loves the questions that people ask. And he loves that, like what Jennifer said. He said he loves that because that's why he did the parables, because he loves the perspectives of others. And he said, that's beautiful. So he said he loves and appreciates hearing everybody's versions of different that, he loves that. So as I said, you are probably getting goosebumps because he's making it clear, but follow your heart. And that's what he really is kind of wanting. That's the message he wants to say. So he says, now, if you want to go back to his mother, Mary, now we can talk about Mary, because he just wanted to make sure all of this was, and now we can proceed to Mary and John. And now he says, it's just, now we can do that.
Okay. I love everything about that. And Jennifer Wallace says, I love everything about this. Yep. So I just said, I agree. And that this is a total synchronicity for her.
Wonderful. Well, he knows that he can feel her, and he loves that, because he says almost like she's sitting there just looking up at him, and he says he loves that. So
let me see if I can find it. Lost it. Sorry.
no, you're good. I'm sending energy out while you're doing that.
Okay. Really? You couldn't have done it during all that silence.
We're gonna do it right now.
Come on, right where I found my spot. Come here, dude. Jennifer said she was just outside looking up at them. Come here, dude.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's acknowledging that. He's acknowledging, yep.
Okay, so this was pregnant Mary, pregnant Elizabeth, at a teaching place in Egypt, and
Okay.
it's told about their sons that they are pregnant with.
Okay.
And it says, and these your sons will be the first to tell the news and preach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth. A mighty work is theirs, for carnal men want not the light. They love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. They comprehend it not. We call these sons revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. And you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. Teach them that God and man were one, but that through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from God and debased himself. Now love, the only savior of the world is love, and Jesus, son of Mary, comes to manifest that love to men. Now love cannot be manifest until its way has been prepared, and naught can rend the rocks and bring down lofty hills and fill the valleys up, and thus prepare the way but purity. But purity and life men do not comprehend, and so it too must come in flesh. And you, Elizabeth, are blessed, because your son is purity made flesh, and he shall pave the way for love. And I love that they were being taught about what blessings these kids were going to be. They were shown all of these things. I think that is just so beautiful. They knew the mission ahead of time. We don't know that. The Bible doesn't. It's just like she's told she's having God's son. She has it. This is wonderful to know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know. Let's see if I have another one. I don't know if I do. If we did that. I guess what would we do? So I wanted to ask about the Sermon on the Mount.
Okay.
So what was that experience like? Did people really just sit down and just listen? Did they understand the power of it?
Wow. I'm going back, and so okay, so I will bring everybody to this orbit. He wants everybody to feel this orbit of love. He walked with magnificence anyway. He felt he didn't, but we all knew he walked with magnificence about him. He had a presence about him that you couldn't describe. He walked with a cane, not because he had to. He had to walk a lot. So he just had a cane, right? Always had a cane. We thought something was wrong with his legs. No, he just had a cane. He'd walk with it. But what's brilliant is he's walking up, right? we didn't know he was going to teach.
Yeah.
No idea. So he just walks and he tells us to just get the crowd ready. So I'm just as boggled as the rest. So he always, as I said, he'd always bring the kids, and he'd sit down. And he just would sit down with such presence, and his children would run to him, and it was such an honor. He loved the kids, and he'd have to sit. The kids would all be around him. Now, not everybody sit and listen. No, you had your haters, you had your doubters, right? Well, that's where the disciples would come in, and we'd try to remove them. We were like the bouncers. We would just kind of remove them. But he would only have a few for that. I wasn't a big man, so he didn't have me for this one. I was kind of keeping the kids calm because the kids could get rowdy, right? They're excited around Jesus. He's like the rock star, like, oh my God, Jesus. But he has such a loving presence. And it's like they were home for just that temporary moment. They're home because he's heaven. So they felt heaven. They just wanted to be there. And everybody that was sitting at the service, what they were doing, they were just sitting there like, they were mesmerized. It was almost like everybody's eyes were like, and in doubt and shock and love, anger. You could tell people were thinking. You could tell he was planting seeds, which was his mission. And the whole thing was planting seeds. His message wasn't really what he was saying. It was the vibration of what he was giving. He would tell us. I sat down because I could no longer, the kids were just going to be how they were going to be. Mary told me, not his mother, Mary, but Mary, she said, I've got the kids, you just listen, because there was no motherly instinct in me. She knew I wanted to hear it. So she played with the children, but I listened. But I looked around, and if you're with me, let's look together. When you're looking, people were sitting there. That's the look. Silence. Once we got rid of the anger, the haters, and you would have the haters and anger, don't get me wrong, you would have them. I said, blasphemy. The Pharisees don't teach that. And he would still continue to talk. And he said, well, my brother, you're welcome to leave. Or my sister, you're welcome to leave. He was not going to, you weren't going to anger him. And then you'd have a few that would stand up and say, well, answer this, teacher. And he would sit there and he goes, in due time. He wouldn't do it. He wasn't going to stop his story and go to you. You were not the focus. His father was the focus. You were not the focus. He's making sure you weren't the focus. And if he didn't get to you, people getting upset. Well, he didn't want to answer my question because he knew whatever your question wasn't even going to pertain to what he said. So but he did say before he started, he said, if anybody wants to be healed, I will do that afterwards. I'm just here, right now for the message. And he said, and he even said, if you don't want to hear this, that is fine. Come back and I will still heal. He wasn't expecting you to listen. If you wanted to hear the message, all right. But if you didn't, okay, but he was still going to heal if you wanted that. And it was just, you could just hear on the sermon, when he was doing that sermon, and people just sitting everywhere. I mean, you could hear like grass, and the wind. I mean, I lost track of time. Like he would really put you in orbit, and you didn't know what time it was. You didn't know where you were. You didn't know anything. It was almost like you traveled with him to wherever he was taking you on this journey. That's where you went with him. And so he brought you out of the journey. It was like a meditation. It was almost his voice was sing song like a meditation. And he'd bring you to that. And you would be in that orbit for however long he took you. But was the vibration. If you picked up on the words, he's good with this. But that really wasn't his mission. As so many people say, and they read so much in the Sermon on the Mount, that really wasn't. It was just the vibration of love he's teaching. And how are you going to take the words? Because everybody's going to interpret that different. And he knows the human mind's going to take what his words are, interpret it for however they're perceiving it. That's just the human mind. He understood this. He was just interested in planting the seed. What word got you? When did it hit you? That's all I'm concerned. Because the Father, that's what we're trying to do, is plant that seed for the Father. And when he got up, there was crying, anger. There was all kind of emotion. I was sad because it ended. I was back from my mini visit. From heaven. I was back because when he spoke, you were in heaven. You were with the Father. I was no longer John. I was with the Father. And I can't speak for everybody else, but I can speak for myself. That is where I went. And so many of us disciples, that's where we went. with him. We'd go up to the Father and we would see the light. We would see the kingdom. We would see what he's talking about. And he knew this though, but the people catching the vibration, see, that's why he's trying to lift your vibration to go to the Father. See the Father. He's right there. I want you to see the Father. He's my Father, but he's your Father too. I'm his son, but you're all sons and daughters as well. But he wanted you to join that kingdom with him. So when I tell the story, when I say, join me, and that's how he wanted you to be in his orbit of love. When Sri Krishna talks, doesn't he say, I want you to be in my orbit of love? Well, that as well. He would also say that to people. He would say that. He would say, I want you to be, but he would say, I want you to be in my orbit of love. And if he would tell the story, it wasn't really what his words were. He didn't know where it was going to be planted as Jesus. It just knew at some point something's going to hit you. When? It's up to the human mind. When is it going to hit you? It might hit you after. It as well hit you. Because if you're sitting there, I don't care if you're angry, it's going to hit you somewhere. You're going to be doing something, and he would even do little predictions to some to really wow them. Like he would do like planetary things, and it would just people, well, how do you know that astrology thing? Well, he watched the stars. He loved the stars. Anybody want to know about Jesus? He loved the stars. Well, he's a being. Of course he's going to love the stars. But he was the son. He made it. He would even say, I'm not special. I'm not special. You're special. He said, you're special. He is, I'm not special. I'm just here teaching. And he'd make it known. But the mountain, it was beautiful. It was like you went to this orbit and you came back down, like a beautiful meditation that you go up. And that's why I love like Sarah Prout, Gabby Bernstein, they're in the one that you always post on Sarah Hall, because their voice takes me to that place and brings me back safely to this place. And that's why I love that, because not a lot of meditations will bring me to this place, but they will. So that's why that's important to me. So that's why certain voices will get me to where I need her to go and you to go, and you follow that. So when we say that, that's why, because we want you to feel the orbit around the love. We want you to be where the Father is. We want you to be in that orbit to remember home, because that is where you're going to go after all of this, to go to wherever you bring to your planet, or you can come back and do this again. That's all up to you. There's never, do you have to repeat this or what? No, you do not. And that's what he was also teaching on the Mount. That's not your mission. Just be, but that's what it was beautiful. But that would be what I would take from that. Jesus could just take you, and his eyes were bluish like rainbow. And he took you there. And when he really lit, his eyes were just rainbow. They glowed. They literally glowed. He glowed. He did glow. As Sri Krishna was blue, he glowed. Jesus was like, he glowed white and gold. And he put his hands out, and it was beautiful. And he did that after he was done. He stood up, and his energy was, but it was not really all of his. It was everybody's energy. He was trying to show that. And he had us all look at ourselves. And we're all glowing as well. The ones that were listening and got it. When I was glowing, I thought, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm having a heart attack again. He says, no, John. He laughed at me. He goes, John, you're okay. He always knew I was the one that, he said, John, you're okay. You're good.
Say that because 5 minutes ago, Destiny put, I almost imagined a glowing mist around him while he would be speaking.
And that is why I mentioned that. That's no coincidence. And you remember, I don't see nothing. I'm not seeing any comments over here, but that's why I mentioned that he wanted that mentioned. That's why.
Yeah, because
validate.
I'm gonna read it, and then you started talking about it. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, he's validating to everybody who's here, the followers. He's what he knows. So yes.
Wonderful.
Right.
Like 12:57. So if anybody has any last minute questions about this went pretty good other than the book. I think I was reluctant to grab the book. I don't know. We got it. We got good stuff out of it. We just had a couple little hiccups here and there.
Well, there was a certain way he wanted to go with it,
That either. I really like that. I like learning, like you said, that if you didn't get the parable, you weren't teaching it. I like that really shows, because if something's not right, they shut you down. They're like, no, that's not the way to do it. This is the way of doing it. And I love that. That's another confirmation that when I feel that is Jesus. no, that's not the right one. There's a better one. I love that. That gave me some validation on my communication with Jesus. And the whole follow your heart, and that he followed Mother Mary because she was loving. That's a beautiful thing to learn also.
Well, as John the Baptist followed his and taught him, he said his mother taught him. It was the mothers that taught them the way, the heart. They were the heart. When they were told that, he says, my mother said that they told me that you are my precious heart, given from the divine. And she says, and you'll always be my heart. And so she'd always tell him, he said, that's where all that started, was the heart. Follow your heart. So he took it really as she was the heart, because how she told it, because she just loved him so dearly. So he said that, so when he said that, everybody to his heart. So, but he had to learn to detach, because he had to learn she was not the heart. She led him, but he had to learn that in that 40 days, he had to learn that he had that as well. The heart was his father, to follow the father now. And he loved his mother. I mean, he had to detach, which was hard for Mary, because she just loved him so crazy much. And when he detached, he detached in a way where he had to tell her, you're Mary. And she didn't hear mother now. Yes, that kills mothers when they don't want to call you mother. But it was to signify to her, you're my, he would not say, he'd say Mary or woman, but that's how he would proceed. But he was detaching, and that is why, I'm not saying humans detach from your parents. That's not what I'm saying. His job was to detach, because he had to be on a mission to teach. So that 40 days was difficult for him. He told us that was the worst 40 days for him, because he had to let go of the things he thought was his heart. He had to let go of the past he had took, even the choices. He made some bad choices, he said. Because we all looked at Jesus. He said, I made some bad choices. We're all like, you did not make any bad choices. Yeah. He said, I made some bad choices. He said, human here, because he wanted us to make sure he was not perfect either. He said, I'm sure, and he even thought, he said, I'm sure in books ahead, I did nothing wrong. But he says, that would be wrong. He was very funny. He's very humorous. He always had sarcastic anecdotes. He's always, he kept the vibration up. Did he not cry? Yes. But he'd go meditate. He'd go up, and that was one of the, he wants me to mention as well, before. He would go to and meditate. We would ask him, how does he keep it all together? Like, well, and it would always just assume it's all magical, like it's all magical. He says, no, it's not magical. He said, all of you can do it. So one time he took us all to the mountain with him to see what he did. And we saw that it wasn't magical. All he was doing was praying and talking to his father, as we could as well. He said, nothing magical here. He said, now look, am I doing any of this hocus pocus, what, like that, bibbidi bobbidi? No, because I'm talking to the father. So we learned that as well. So he had to bring us down a lot, because you got to remember, we would think all of this, he was doing things that we thought was magic and sorceress. He would show us it's from the Father, and we would know that. So as well, we'd go up and learn stuff. Anybody need quiet time? It's okay. Jesus needed quiet time. His favorite was going up on mountains and going in water. Believe it or not, he loved to go on water. He'd go on water and sit on top of the water, and he'd levitate, because the water just flowed so good for him, and it cleared his chakras. And he did that. He literally just appeared and became a ball of energy. Now, we were afraid to do it, right? Because he always invited us, but we're always afraid. And he always would say, well, that's your fear. That's your ego fear. But he said, but I understand that. But he had to get off that as well. He said that was something he would have not, but he let go of all of it, and he would glow. But when he was done, he'd just stand up and he'd walk on the water to back. So he would also clear himself with water. He'd clear himself with the earth, the ground himself. So these are things that all of us you can do as humans. You can all ground yourself. Water is wonderful. He loved waterfalls. He loved a good waterfall. So he loved a good party. He also, he loved that, because it meant people were joyful. Now, if it got too rowdy, now we would leave, because he wasn't going for any of that. But we would maybe a lot of parties and things. So he was always festive. He wasn't always just quiet. He would be festive as well. So I'm just trying anything somebody would ask about him. Though things I have heard somebody ask about Jesus.
I know Krishna likes to dance. Did he dance?
He danced. Oh yeah, he danced. He did like Christian. He sang. Well, he didn't do the flute, but yeah, he danced. Yes, he was known. What was his? I'm trying to what one of his dances was. He did a lot of this, like or something like he just like that. And he moved his way around like he clapped his hands.
Yeah.
We don't know what he was doing, but he just really get into it. There was no specific thing, but he do a lot of clapping and moving, but yes, he did. But he would start like the cha-cha line, whatever, they had things like that, but he would start, but he did a lot of dancing. The music was good. He loved drumming. He loved that. Didn't play the instrument himself, but he would join it, and they would look at him like they just knew what to play. And we're always looking at him like, oh, of course, they'll play what he wants. Yes, he did. He loved to dance.
Jennifer Wallace said, thank you. This is exactly what I needed to hear. I had a big aha moment yesterday where my visions and thoughts started colliding, coming together and making sense. Yesterday was intense, but beautiful. I love this so much. It helps with some understanding I was given yesterday. Thank you, and a heart emoji. Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad, because that's what we want to do. That's what our teachings, and he wants to acknowledge, Jennifer. He said, unfold those wings all the way. Unfold them all the way. He said, bloom. He goes, your wings are like that. But he says, when you put them out, he says, just watch out, world. And he says, you're very close. He wants you to do that. He says, you have the magical hands. He says magical because he said you're got angelic, fairy-like hands, he's calling it. He said you vibrate with such rainbow energy that you just light with energy. So he said her path is getting very open for her, very open. He said like a butterfly, cocoon. He says she's going to fly, and she's going to help so many people along her path as she flies as a butterfly. And as well, she will follow her heart as well as Jesus followed his heart. And she's doing it just now. He said just now. She's let go of her ego. He said that too. She's letting go of her ego, the spiritual stuff. Her 40 days is kind of like going on, but she's seeing all of this for everything. It's getting he said like his mission, when he had to let go of it all, it was difficult, but he said as it was for him, but look what great paths he did to help other humans, as great paths she's going to do to help other humans as well. So he does applaud it. And Destiny, anybody watching like as of Destiny too, great teachings as well. He says everybody's teaching in their way. He said, I taught in my way as they're going to teach in their way. However that way is, just follow your heart, however that may go. Just follow your heart. And he said, I never will lie to you. Your heart isn't here. It keeps you alive, but it keeps your joy alive. It keeps the vibration alive, because there's all kinds of things for that heart to do. But he said that also makes you human. It also makes you the heartbeat of the earth. It makes you human, but also connects you to the beings here. It connects you to everything. Your heart has such a purpose. So.
My goodness, it made me so cold that I'm shrinking. She had like crying emoji and said, oh, wow, I love you. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, it shrunk me. The energy just shrunk me. It was so cold. Just all the truth. I don't know. I feel smushed by it.
Well, because you notice he wants people to know the energy's around. Yeah. So you got to remember, see, Krishna's over here as well.
Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, I'm going to bring him in because of time. I'm going to bring him in because it says orbit is going to hit that much more when he comes through.
Open it up today.
Oh, so I'm going to bring him. I'm going to bring Marcus through. He's going to do what he does best. How do you follow this? How do you?
Woo. Jennifer said it spoke so much truth to me. Oh, I bet, because I was vibrating like crazy. Woo.
She's got such a beautiful heart. When I see her glow like a beautiful angel. She's like this, as I heard, but she's doing that. What you're feeling is the truth and the love. She's like this. It's like when Locaeus describes the holy breath. That is going to be Jennifer. That is going to be Destiny. And anybody watching this right now, you're going to, And that is the lives you're going to touch. You talking to people, touching their shoulder when for no reason. She's so drawn to people. Destiny's drawn to people. And so is Jennifer. She's so drawn to people and animals as well that need her assistance. Destiny as well. I feel that she's meant for that, but she's an angelic wing. And then when she does this, all the angels come forth with her, with Jennifer. They come forth. As she lets go of her ego, it's tough. I understand, because I as well had my retreats I had to do periodically. But then you do, it's so blissful. There's none of this. And there's where she's at. She's just right on the verge of that. And when it happens, she's just going to be like, wow. She's going to see the world with different eyes, like rainbow eyes, as Jesus saw, as I saw. My eyes, if you can see my eyes, what color? They are rainbow, because I simply let go of all. I let go of these attachments as that was hard for her. It is hard for humans, but she's seeing the bigger picture, and that's beautiful. When you see the bigger picture as humans, that is. So it makes us very happy. That makes him very happy, because the message on the mount, my messages by the trees, and all of what I gave as well, was for this purpose. When we get that person that says, that is what we want, that is where we strive. And that is why we do what we do. That is what all of us as a being, as Lazarus, that's what we do, To hear a Jennifer come out, or a Destiny come out, and whoever wants to come out. And we're so excited to hear your journey. We're so it's just amazing to hear. It just makes me cry. It makes me excited to know that the words.
That reminds me, we wanted to start a new segment.
Yes.
I want to talk about, because we're talking about it kind of. So we want to start a new segment of a feature where someone like a Destiny or Jennifer, you come on and you share your story to help inspire somebody else, because you've done the healing, you've put in the work, you're seeing the results, and you're at the point where it's time for you to, share your message. We would love for you to come on and share your message, help inspire somebody else, and show them that this works, that putting in the time works. So that's something we'd like to start at some point. A feature. Would feature you guys, and anybody can do it. We're all doing it together, and we're a community. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, so let us know. We would absolutely love that. I mean, contact, and we would love that, because we are given the message, but to know others are getting the message. And if we want to feature your story, we're going to stand back and let you tell your story.
Yeah.
It's your story to tell, however you want to tell your story. And all they're going to do is just stand back and allow you to tell your story, because it is you, how you. And so we want that. We want you to be the feature. We want you to be the star of the Facebook Live. You're going to be the star, and you can sing, you can do whatever you would like to do, but it will be your moment though. And we want to make sure your message will hit somebody else and they will relate in that. So that's what we were trying to do. And your message will hit many people, because where you're at. So we're opening that, Jennifer, Destiny, anybody that you have a story, and this and what we have taught you has just brought you to a place of just wow, then please, we would love to feature you.
And if you're in the middle of healing with us, know that maybe that's an end goal for you. Maybe that will help inspire you to continue the healing. To know we'll give you the platform to share your story to help somebody else too. Because again, we donate to charity. We always want to help somebody else. That's what this is about. It's helping ourselves and helping everybody else around us. Jennifer said, I'm glad you're feeling it, Angie, because I'm feeling it too. Yeah, the smushed cold stuff. Yeah, absolutely. We both had that. I had a vision of a cross, the rainbows extending out of the top and sides. You were talking about the rainbow eyes. As she said, Jennifer said she'd love to many, many times. I have so much to share. Perfect.
Yeah, well, then we'll figure out the way do we do this, and that we'll get in contact with Jennifer. Then we'll do a group chat with you, because she's on Michelle's phone. We'll do it with Angela. We can add. And we'll figure something out how we're going to do this and that, because we would love to have Jennifer's story, Destiny as well, anybody in that. But yes, Jennifer, however, because you've got a beautiful story to tell. And I honestly feel this is the rest of your wings opening up. As Angela just said, I feel this is the rest of your wings opening.
Yeah. Yeah. Because once you share and you're vulnerable, that extends it. It like just busts you open. And then you also feel the inspiration that you get to offer other people. You feel that it just is a rush of stuff. It's beautiful.
And she's got an orbit of love as well. She's got such an orbit. I felt that as we're talking, we feel that orbit and that, and she's got such an orbit of love. So when she's speaking, others were going to feel that love and understand, wow, look where she's at. That can be me. And that is the goal end. We want everybody, we want to make sure you understand we love you, we listen to you, and we want to feature you. It's not all about us and the beings. It's about all of us as a community, as Jesus was, how Sri Krishna was. As well, he would feature one of his disciples. I would feature one of my students, because I wanted to make sure people saw that the teachings of Jesus, of whatever you were at, and some of my best students were not they were not my students. They were just wonderful students I could just teach, but others listen and they embrace that information. So please, that was fantastic. Jennifer, let us know. They'll make that possible. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, I'm excited. And she's local, right?
Yes.
We actually meet up.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, whatever. We'll get with her. We'll figure something out, because I thought we could edit a video if you feel more comfortable just having a one-on-one. If you're nervous, because you might not want to just pop on a live with us, it might be uncomfortable. We'll figure out ways to be able to do this, because again, it's not just us, it's about all of us.
And it's how to make you comfortable as well. I mean, if you don't want to do a live, we can also, if you're local, we can do a video as well. And if not, we can still maybe do a Zoom and film something, but we'll make sure your comfort level is always right there. So please understand that we're going to worry, we'll make sure that your comfort level will be okay.
Overwhelm you.
Yes, absolutely. We don't want that. It's absolutely not.
Perfect. Jennifer said it makes her happy too. Wonderful. This is wonderful. Thanks y'all for joining us. This is great information. I'm super thankful that Jesus came here and is still here for us, and that it lives inside of us, and that there was things brought to us to help us. It's it's beautiful. I'm thankful that we have it, and I hope that we can represent it better for people to want it in their life also.
As well. Well, that's why we do what we do. And I feel strong that our followers are the disciples now. But we're disciples, and we're disciples, and we're all of Jesus. He's right here, the Father, but we're all his disciples. And it all starts somewhere, and we all have to do this as a group. So I feel and I'm glad that everybody is here. So I will do the outro. And Angela, I will let you do the final. I always do, but you also channel. You can do it however you do, because Cosmo said he loved to just, yeah, me and Cosmo have a lot of laughs together, So everybody in their orbit of love, I am so appreciative of everybody that was here today, that will be watching this later. Whenever you do watch this, I'm so thankful that you are joining us. If you are here listening, it's not by coincidence. You needed a message to hear. And we're glad that you joined us to hear this message. We hope that you're planted with a seed. Wherever you are in your journey, we just want you to be planted with a seed. And we hope that you follow or find a wonderful spiritual teacher that will lead you the way, because that's what we're here to do. Plant a seed to get you started, or keep coming over to us if we're good with that as well. But you go where it's comfortable, but as long as it's spiritual and as you're following your heart, that is really what matters. Be that spark for somebody else. Be that love for somebody else. And then Angela, I will end it with you, because
just know you are unconditionally loved by the creator of the universe and many, many spiritual beings. You're very protected. You are enough. Your life has a plan. You have a purpose, and it's all good.
Absolutely. Well said, Angela. Love that.
We love you, and we will see you tomorrow in our live, where we do our first Cosmo and Me segment.
Oh, that is wonderful. So please be there. Cosmo is getting excited about this. So please join us.
We'll see y'all tomorrow. Love y'all.